Good morning from First Congregational Church of Kittery at Kittery Point. This is Beth St. John and Brian Gruhn and Jennifer Gray behind the camera, coming to you from the Parish House in front of the Graham Alvord Memorial Stage. And we are going to be sending out a mooring today with all kinds of information about resources that are available for anybody who needs them, and also opportunities to serve one another in the middle of this predicament that we all find ourselves in. And in the meantime, your staff and your leadership are working on ways to keep us connected in the coming days, and I just can't talk to a computer screen anymore. It's feeling very unsatisfying to me. So we are very blessed that Beth and Jennifer and I are all feeling very healthy and very good, and we are practicing social distancing. And so we're going to enjoy a conversation that you are welcome to listen in on, and please contribute comments as you're watching this video. And in the coming days, we are figuring out ways for as many of us as possible to gather online and get to see each other face to face and have actual conversations together, because I know that's important for me. I know that I'm not at my best when I'm just stuck in my house listening to my own thoughts. I know I need human beings to talk with in order to make sense of stuff. So we're going to offer you an opportunity to be in on that from afar today, and in the coming days we're going to figure out a way of including everybody. So forgive me if I ignore you for a minute, but I'm just going to chat with Beth. Hi, Beth.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm good. I'm good. I am not sleeping very long at night. I think I'm sleeping well, but I'm waking up a lot throughout the night. I'm not resting very well. Yeah. But you're okay?
Yeah. Hanging in there.
Good. I was wondering if you could share with me just a few things that you might be hearing people talking about, either folks that you're talking to directly or things that you're reading online. What are some things that people are worrying about or concerned with right now at the beginning of this very strange thing that we're all going through?
So some things I've heard is people are afraid of losing their income and not being able to work during this time. People are worried about not being able to find what they need at grocery stores in terms of food and paper supplies that are running out like crazy. People are also worried about having cabin fever, being stuck inside for way too long and not being able to have human contact with other people.
Yeah.
Especially for those who maybe don't have technological equipment to connect with others remotely or don't know how to use technological equipment. Those are some real concerns that I've heard.
I've been hearing the same, and I'm so glad that you and Jennifer and Tracy and I were reaching out to people directly, by phone, as quickly as we can this week. And I'm hoping that in those conversations we can find out who needs help learning how to use these resources and these tools. And the other thing that I'm hearing about from folks, especially with school being closed for a couple days now, is how difficult it is to have kids who are unable to go to school. They're also getting cabin fever. Kids need to play. Kids need to socialize. And I'm hearing from folks that it's getting very wearing very quickly to try to homeschool them and do other jobs that the parents might have. It's all feeling like a lot of change very, very quickly. And the other thing that I'm hearing from people is that one of our biggest concerns is we just don't know how long this is going to last.
Yeah.
Right? We're hearing everything from it could be the next 2 weeks that schools are closed, to it could be more than 8 weeks before we're allowed to have gatherings of people again.
Right.
There's various estimates. We have no idea how long it's going to last.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I wanted us to be able to chat about today is what tools of our faith what does our faith tradition give us as ways of coping with this time? And I'm wondering, this isn't a quiz or anything, I'm wondering if you can name any examples in the Bible of stories that have to do with long periods of time.
Well, so the Exodus story.
The Exodus story.
Yes.
Keep going.
Oh, the flood.
The flood. Yes.
Let's see,
Well-
long periods of time.
Oh, Jennifer's putting the pressure on. I give you into it. But so the story of Moses leading people out of slavery, wandering through the wilderness.
Yeah.
The story of Noah and his family bringing all creatures onto the ark, and it floods for a period of time. How long does it flood for?
Was it 40 days?
Yeah. 40 days and 40 nights.
Nights, right.
And the Hebrews walked through the wilderness for 40 years, right?
Right.
In the New Testament, we get a story about Jesus fasting for 40 days, right? And then after Jesus ascends into heaven after the resurrection, then we get a story of his followers milling about in the city of Jerusalem for 40 days, apparently getting visions of him and him teaching them about the kingdom. So you and I know from our seminary training that those stories of 40 days and 40 years, 40 was just considered like a big number for ancient people, right? Like it doesn't actually mean that the floods lasted specifically 40 days. We don't even know what kind of calendar they were using, right? Like, so there's no way of actually measuring that amount of time. So it's just a stand-in for an extended period of time, a long period of time. For a long, long time, something happened. Yep. And something I've been reflecting on is how with each and every one of those stories, the world is different at the end of the story than it was before. In some of the stories, for Jesus, the world was different for him. You know, the world around him didn't change. He did by fasting for 40 days and 40 nights. Right. And so our tradition gives us the season of Lent. We thought Lent began on Ash Wednesday. We've been celebrating it here as a church for the last couple of weeks. But what do you think about the idea that since we are encountering this reality that will last for a period of time, an extended period of time, we don't know how long, and we're hearing all the concerns about all the ways that the world is changing, and we're very concerned about how it's going to change us and our lives. Do you think it's helpful to think about this as Lent 2.0? It's going to be this extended period of time that God is doing a new thing, and we are partnering with God to do a new thing. And even though it's really scary, we have all these stories from our faith that tell us God was there before, God was there during, God was there after. What do you think? Is that helpful?
I think so.
Oh.
That's one of the things I've been struggling with is all of the unknowns. Like,
Okay.
do I go out and interact with people? Do I not? And if we think about the Lenten journey as initially starting as a season of unknowing, not knowing what's going to happen, and if we think of how God and Christ are always with us in these moments, and we're not doing this alone. That being in that state of unknowing can be a lot. We can think of it a lot. It can bring us more comfort if we know that we're not in that space alone. And in actuality, we never really know anything anyway.
You're absolutely right.
So, yes, I think that is a helpful way to think about it.
I love what you just said. Like, we all have our routines, we all have our jobs, we all have our schedules, we have our things that we do. And most of the time, we are fortunate enough to live our lives in ways that allow us to think, well, this is all there is. And the reality is, well, no, not all there is, and this may not always last. So I think there's, I'm hearing some humility in that, needing to name that, like, the world can be and is often different than what I believe it is. And there's a lot of vulnerability there, and there's a lot of uncertainty there. Yeah, I think that's really interesting. And I think you just named for me all the things that I really treasure about my faith. My faith helps me to go through times where I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if I'm safe. I don't know what I can expect to see. I don't know how the world's going to be different. These are all the reasons why I depend on God, because I think God is the only one who is constantly loving and giving and supportive and abundant. And so when I rely on God, I remember, just like Jesus said in the desert, when the tempter tempted Jesus to turn rocks into bread to feed himself, Jesus said, we don't actually live by bread alone, but from every word that comes from the mouth of God. I'm feeling that very much right now. Like, none of us really know where our money is going to come from or what our money can even buy in the coming days and weeks. We need to remember God already provides us with everything we actually need, because what we need most is one another.
Right, absolutely.
I'm glad we're in agreement. So I wanted to very quickly, because Lent can be this time of helping us to practice faith, to grow in faith, to deepen our connections in love. And the only way to do that really is to be able to set aside all the things we usually cling to, that we depend on, in order to grow more fully as God's beloved. Jesus had to fast for 40 days before he could really find the food that was nourishing for him. All of us are being invited during this Lent 2.0, this extended period of time, to let go of things that might prevent us from being who God is calling us to be in this moment. So I just wanted to remind folks, we still have, and actually, do you feel like riffing on these a little bit with me, like I did it?
Sure.
Okay, cool. So we still have our Lenten practice that we're inviting people to do as a church, where we have rocks outside the sanctuary. Today, right now, we have rocks outside the sanctuary, and everyone is invited to keep coming by and writing on those rocks what you plan on letting go of for Lent 2.0, the things that you won't rely on anymore, so that you can grow and commit to being God's beloved child. And then as you write your words on these rocks, you're going to have to bring your own Sharpie. That's like the most germ-free way of doing this right now. You'll bring your own Sharpie, you write on a rock, and you just leave it in our rock garden that we're building outside the sanctuary. So Beth and I are just going to share these words that we picked out of the rock garden and offer some ideas for how giving these things up during this time might invite God's Spirit, might invite growth and commitment to being God's beloved child. Do you want to go first, or do you want to go?
Take it away.
Mine is super easy, actually, because I talked to the person who wrote this. I have a rock that says, giving up control.
Full disclosure, it was me. Be careful what you ask for. This is not really what I had in mind when I said I would like to give up control for Lent.
Jennifer said, I want to give up control for Lent. And so she gave up coffee. And so like limiting her ability to have caffeine. And now we're in a pandemic. So be careful what you, but what a perfect opportunity to give up control. All of us feel safer when we are in control of situations. All of us have a really hard time trying to figure out what to do with our lives when we don't have control. Man, so Jennifer, and for whoever else might be giving up control for Lent, what I would invite you to think about is what are all the things that you have no control over that God is blessing you with every single day? You have no control over your own lungs. You breathe in and out. Your heart pumps the way it pumps. The sun rises and sets, the birds sing, the plants grow, the weather changes. All these things we have no control over at all, and they're all precious gifts from God. So maybe that can help us focus on all the good gifts that come into our lives when we give up control and we name that God is the only one with ultimate power. If there can be all those beautiful things that we discover, then maybe we don't have to just focus on the difficulties of giving up control. I hope that helps.